What compels an individual to run over 100 miles at a time? For over a decade, the sport and lifestyle of running has carried Tim Wills on a journey from self exploration to finding meaning and purpose. On today's episode, we dive into the mindset of an ultra runner who learned firsthand how the opportunity changed the physical, mental, and emotional aspects of self. Ranging from 5K to 116-mile distance runs, Tim believes everyone is capable of accomplishing a greater capacity with the right mental approach. His philosophy of seeking endless possibility is ongoing, and the reaching of new heights is merely a new beginning. Welcome, Tim. I'm so excited to have you on Comfort Kills today. How are you?
Good, Jasmine. Thanks for having me on.
Of course, I'm so excited to speak to you because
Yeah.
um, what you do for fun is what I would never imagine doing for fun. So I'm really, really excited. So why don't you tell us
Yeah,
a little bit about yourself?
sure. So I've always been active all my life,
Mhm.
growing up, always running outside, always on the bike, you know. I've always been an active kid, always led an active lifestyle.
Yeah.
I definitely spent a number of years in team sports,
Okay.
baseball, got into basketball, and
Yeah.
basketball really sat well with me throughout high school because it was a very intense sport,
Hmm.
and I just loved being very active.
Hmm.
Um, so anyway, I did that for a number of years, and then I started dabbling into running and got into a little bit of distance,
Okay.
5K, 10K.
Okay.
Started really getting into triathlons, and then yeah, once I found running and long running up to about a half marathon is when everything took off.
Wow.
Um, but yeah, just to get into how my life is now, I'd say it's probably broken to like, I'd like to break it into like three parts.
Mm.
I have my family life.
Yeah.
I've been married 7 years. My
Congratulations.
beautiful wife. Yeah, thank you. Our anniversary was just yesterday,
Oh,
as a matter of fact.
congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, we've been married 7 years. Um, I have two children,
Okay.
Chase and Connor.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, they definitely keep me busy.
Good.
They're very active themselves. And yeah, my wife is very just as ambitious as I am. So
Uh-huh.
she has just as many goals, just as many ambitions as I do.
Yeah.
So um, so we try to help each other out. We
Hmm.
definitely use teamwork, and we definitely help each other out and cover for each other with the kids. You
Okay.
know, I'm also a PTA, so my full-time job, I do physical therapy. I'm a PTA in Miami,
Hmm.
Florida. I enjoy that as well. I've been doing that 6 years now.
Hmm.
Um, and then the other aspect of my life is the running and the training and the company that I've started. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
so that's in a nutshell, my life now, and
Okay. Well,
pretty
great.
much broke it into three parts.
Great, awesome. So I'm super excited to meet you because I don't like running. I absolutely hate it. So I'm really excited to hear what you have to say and listen to your passion and really
Yeah,
get pumped up to get back out there and do it myself. So the only time I ever
yeah,
ran, no, I wouldn't say the only time. There was two times in my life that I enjoyed running,
uh-huh,
and no, I didn't enjoy it. Let's just say I ran.
yeah, yeah,
Was when I was in the army 20 years ago. By default, I had to learn how to run, and so
okay,
eventually I picked up a pace and I was able to run. And the other time was actually maybe close, not quite 10 years, maybe 7 years ago. I started running again.
hmm,
And I said, let's just pick up this Couch to 5K program, do it
okay,
very slowly. And then I was able
yeah,
to start doing 5Ks again. And that was really nice. And And then I think I had sciatica really bad, and then that was kind of the end of the road for me. But I have this love-hate relationship with running.
A lot of people do. Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
definitely, I want to love it. I really do
yeah.
because it does a body good, for the most part, other than the pavement pounding and everything. But I want
Right.
to, I just can't. And
Yeah.
so to see you and go through your social media and see what you've done is just it's mind boggling for me because I don't have the mindset for
Yeah.
that. I don't have the willpower.
Yeah.
I don't have the energy. I don't know what it is. What does
Yeah.
it take to do what you do?
Yeah, I hear you. I love running up to a certain point, So
Uh,
there's a distance for me as well where I love it, For me, I love the half marathon,
mhm,
I love the marathon. The ultra marathons, I love the ultra marathons. I gravitate those to those more. But there's just an aspect, it gets to a point where I'm in the thick of it, and
mhm,
it's tough. And
yeah.
I have a love hate relationship with that as well. But that's where I've found the most growth, and yeah, so when I want to go out for a run and enjoy it, I may go for a few miles.
Uh-huh.
When I'm really looking for a serious challenge is when I actually set a goal, and it takes me about 6 months to train for something.
Wow, wow.
So yeah.
So why don't you tell our listeners what the different types of runs are? So, we know we have our 5K. So why don't you just kind of go start there and then
Sure. So there's a traditional, like, ladder, I guess you can say.
Mhm,
There's the 5K, which is 3.1 miles.
mhm,
There's a 10K, which would be 6.2 miles. Then they have the half marathon, 13.1 miles, and the traditional marathon, which is
mhm,
26.2 miles.
mhm.
And that's basically, those are probably the busiest,
Yeah.
and and then getting into ultra marathons. An ultra marathon is anything more than a marathon.
Mhm.
So probably the
Mm,
shortest ultra marathon that they have would be a 50K, which is 31 miles.
okay.
And then they build up to 100K, 62 miles. It gets into a 50 miler, 100 miler, and they just go on and on and on.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Okay.
um,
Yeah. And so you said you were in a lot of team sports and competitive sports growing up and you did basketball
yeah.
in high school. So I was expecting that you were gonna say, "I was a track and cross country runner." So at
Right.
what was the pivotal point for you to realize running was the
Yeah.
direction you wanted to go in?
Yeah. Interesting. They tried to recruit me for track, and I told them the shorts. Though I'm not wearing those shorts. You know, they're too short. I get made fun of as it is. I like the basketball shorts. They go
Yeah.
below the knees, and with that, I actually turned down track, and I regret it.
Wow.
I think I would have had a good experience,
Yeah.
but I found this. So
Yeah. So
yeah.
when did you start running? When was it the
Uh,
moment for you to say, "Okay, this is where I'm heading," or
yeah. Yeah. So I would say, after high school, probably about a little over a decade ago, is when I
Okay.
really started. More than a decade ago, 5Ks, 10Ks. My wife actually invited me to run with her in a running club. They were
Uh-huh.
training for a marathon in Miami. So they were running 7 miles that weekend. She
Mhm.
asked me if I wanted to come along, and I said I've never run 7 miles, but I'll do it. I'll give it a shot.
Okay.
And I strolled in last
Uh-huh.
back to the running group. I
Yeah.
barely made it, but something happened for me there. I was like, man, I could do it. So
Uh-huh.
I kept training with them, and then I showed up to the half marathon with them, and I got through that, and I said, shoot, I'm gonna try the marathon next year.
Wow. Yeah. Wow.
So that's
So
how
your
I
wife
got
got
in.
you into it.
Hmm.
That's awesome. So I did look
Yeah.
through your social media and I saw her. She's a petite little girl.
Right.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
in comparison to
Yeah.
where you are. And
Yeah.
I looked through some of your stories and stuff and I was looking at what was it? The Daytona 100. And when you had your
Right.
pacers, and
Yeah.
first of all, I didn't know that you have, I just thought you were crazy and you just ran, like
Uh-huh.
I didn't realize, but it makes total sense. But
Yeah.
looking at your community of people who came out and were pacers for you, and here
Yeah.
you are. Well, first of all, your first video started, you were 13 miles in and you're just kind of having a casual conversation. And I'm like, I'd be dying. No, I'd already be dead like miles back. I wouldn't even make it to the 13th. I've never ran that far.
All right, here we are. Here we are, mile 13. We're moving along, slow and steady. It's a beautiful day. Started out pretty cold, and now it's low 50s. Pretty nice out. And yeah, we're just moving along. I got a solid crew, and we're ready to tackle the day. We'll see where it takes us.
And then you're back again and it's her next to you as your pacer. You're introducing her as
Right.
your pacer. And I think you're like, okay, it's, she joined me at 22, mile 22, and now we're at mile 27. And I'm looking at her like, she looked like she just joined you, like how
Yeah.
casual she looked. And she just had, there was not
Yeah.
a bead of sweat on her. She's just smiling and running. And I was
Yeah.
just like, okay, this is definitely, we're looking at some
Right.
serious pros here. Definitely not,
Yeah.
my circle of people that I've hung out with, but I think that's pretty badass. Like that's really
Yeah.
cool.
All right, all right. I picked up my first pacer, my wife Catherine. She joined me from mile 22 and a half, and she's with me till 27 and a half, and that's about where I am now. Uh, about mile 27 and a half, about 5 hours and 55 minutes. So making good time, beautiful day, beautiful sky, beautiful ocean. Having fun.
No,
Yeah.
my crew was great. My crew was great. They
Mhm.
really came out and supported me, and they gave me their whole weekend,
Yeah. Yeah.
and they really pushed themselves. And yeah, my wife, she can she can run 5, 6 miles with me
Uh-huh.
at any moment. She's pretty incredible,
Yeah.
and yeah, she's willing to just jump in and run with me, and yeah, she's quite the runner herself.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good. That's good. That's awesome. I wish I could
Yeah.
always have, say the same, but I not, not there at
Yeah.
all. All right. So tell me, what is an ultra marathon? You mentioned that there's different types, and I did see that you recently did the Daytona 100 and the Wildcat 100. So what are the
Right.
different types that you've done?
Yeah, so when I first started, I did a marathon for a number of years, and
Mhm.
then I was reading about ultra marathons, and I knew the next step into an ultra marathon would be a 50K,
Uh-huh.
31 miles. So I thought, wow, I've really struggled with every marathon here.
Yeah.
I don't know how I'm gonna do another 5 miles on top of that.
Yeah.
But one year I decided to give it a shot, and it took me a number of years to finally start doing 50Ks and 50 milers even.
Mhm.
It was another jump for me to go from the 50K, which is 31 miles, to the 50 miler. And for me mentally, I was thinking, gosh, I finally made that jump from the marathon to the 50K,
Mhm.
but I don't know how I'm going to do another 19 on top of the
Yeah.
the 31. And but I gave them a try. I took
Uh-huh.
the risk, and I had my fair share of struggles, and they're just not easy. But I kept on for a number of years before I attempted the 100,
Yeah.
for the first time, and I just wanted to get more experience with the 50Ks and the 50 milers,
Mhm.
before I even attempted my first 100.
Yeah.
And yeah, my first 100 was in 2017 in the Keys.
Okay.
It's called the Keys 100,
Uh-huh.
and it goes from Key Largo to Key West.
Yeah.
And I gave that one a shot as my first one, but it was 90 degrees,
Yeah.
and it was it was a tough first attempt at the 100.
Right.
But yeah, I did that, and barely made it through. There's a 32-hour cutoff,
Uh-huh.
and I made it in like 31 and a half hours.
Oh, wow. You
Ran
did it.
into a lot of stomach issues out there with
Uh-huh.
the heat and everything. But yeah, I made it in, and it sat with me for a number of years. Then I had the two children, so I was doing some marathons and a few smaller ultras, but the
Mhm.
100 always sat with me in the back of my mind.
Uh-huh.
When am I going to revisit that? And
Mm.
so yeah, then I've done a couple more since then. Since the kids. So
Here we go. We're walking to the starting line. Daytona 100, Jacksonville to Daytona. Here we go.
What's your competitive nature trying to compete your old self that keeps you
right,
crazy and going back?
right.
Please don't take offense to that, but it's just it takes
No,
a special kind of person to want to do this, the
yeah,
passion behind it, but it's a good
yeah.
special.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I keep wanting to. I compete against myself.
Mhm.
I've never won a race, and I don't train to win a race. I don't.
Mhm.
That's not really my goal.
Yeah.
And I'm just an average runner. I tend to finish average times.
Uh-huh.
I finish pretty much middle of the pack. So if there's 100 people, I
Mhm.
probably get anywhere from 40 to 60th place.
Yeah.
But those are not really my goals.
Mhm.
I do it for the journey along the way.
Yeah.
And yeah, I keep revisiting it. I feel there's something there. I feel there's you know a lot to find within myself. you
Mhm.
know and those races, those, especially the 100-mile races for me at this point, it really gets to a point where I need to find something deep. I need to really
Yeah.
find hidden strength, and
Uh-huh.
and make it through. It gets to a point where physically, mentally, emotionally, there's just nothing left. There's nothing that's going to help me.
Yeah.
And I have to find it.
Right.
And so I just feel like there's a lot of opportunity there for me to find something within myself and
Mhm.
just continue to revisit that and continue to
Okay.
I guess flip the switch.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
So Tim, do and I'm asking this because of my personal experience when I did run, even though they were very short distances in comparison. But
Yeah.
I know there was a point where when I was running, and my husband has mentioned this himself, where he was a soldier as well. But he's gotten himself up to like 15 miles at a time before.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, I'm like, I cut it off at 3, I'm done.
Uh-huh.
But there was a
Yeah.
point where during the run, like my body just hits this sudden feeling of like all pain is just gone, and I'm on a
Hmm.
totally different, I guess, like a spiritual level where I no longer feel the pain and I'm just running
Right.
and it's
Right.
pleasurable. Like, is
Right.
that a moment for you too?
Absolutely. Yeah. They come and go too.
Yeah.
So yeah, during these races, there's highs and lows.
Mhm.
So there may be 10 miles where things are going great and everything is flowing properly.
Mhm.
I feel great. I'm not really focusing on the pain. Um, and then there could be another 10 miles after that, 5 miles after that, where it's just all hell is breaking loose, and
Yeah.
the stomach is not cooperating.
Mhm.
I can't eat much, I can't drink much. Electrolytes maybe getting all out of whack.
Mhm.
The temperature, it could be really cold, it could be really hot. May even be throwing up, and
Yeah.
it could be hell. And then 5 miles later, 10 miles later, pull out of it, and things are going great again. Uh, those harder times,
Mhm.
to get through to the good times.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So here we are, mile 51. If I look at the phone, I'll probably blind it. And I gotta keep an eye on this trail here so I don't trip. But we survived the day, man. We survived the day. That was the name of the game. And just hydrated a lot of caloric drinks with electrolytes. Uh, I definitely ate a lot of fruit so I can not only eat something, but something that contained more water. So I was kind of hydrating through the food as well. And now I moved on to some solids now that the heat went away. Anyway, we're making progress. I'm gonna get there. I want to finish. That's my number one goal. I'm already satisfying my number two goal, having fun. I'm having fun out here. It's been a good day. My brother and I are still at it, and we'll be at it for a few more hours, and we'll check in. See you guys.
Speaking of climate, have you trained in other climates before? Have you done these types of races in different types of climates and elevations even?
Yeah, I have not done any elevation,
Okay.
and I haven't really ventured out of Florida except for one race. I did sign up for a half marathon with my wife in Colorado, and the mountains just tore me up.
It's very different.
I was not prepared, and this is back before I knew much about training. I just kind of showed up to things, and yeah, the
Uh-huh.
oxygen level is different. Running
Mm-hmm.
up a mountain is pretty challenging,
Yeah.
and especially with a lot less oxygen um, delivery to the muscles, they're just not there the same
Yeah.
as they are at sea level.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So what is the furthest you've run?
Yeah. So it would be 116 miles
Wow.
officially.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. And how long did that take you?
So 31 hours.
31.
Yeah. So I signed up for a race which
That's
was
good.
across the state of Florida,
Uh-huh.
and it's called the Cross Florida 116.
Uh-huh.
And it took me about 6 months to train for it. But yeah, that's the furthest I've gone, and I'm actually interested in trying a bit further. But yeah, that one was across the state of Florida.
Wow.
So it was quite special because being born in Miami, living in Florida all my life,
Mm-hmm.
I thought, wow, this race is just a bit over 100. I think I can make it.
Yeah.
But it was special. It was starting with my feet in the Gulf of Mexico. You know, you
Okay.
you you dip your toes in the Gulf
Uh-huh.
and you run Route 40, which crosses straight across the state of Florida
Uh-huh.
at about the mid part of Florida. So it goes straight through Ocala National Forest,
Uh-huh.
and it finishes right at Ormond Beach, Route 40. You
Okay.
know,
Yeah.
and the finish line, I thought it would be so cool to just run straight into the Atlantic Ocean. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and so it was really
Huh.
neat. It took a team of people, and but we got it done. And
Okay.
yeah, these are special journeys for me.
S- So every time you run the ultras, you always have your pacers with you? Is
I
that like
have,
the
yeah.
most the best
If
advice?
it's 100 miler,
Uh-huh.
I carry a crew
Okay.
and some pacers, and I generally will take about maybe 3 people,
Okay.
3 4 people as a crew. So maybe two will be in the van,
Mhm.
and they'll drive a couple miles up. And once I get about maybe 20 25 miles into the race,
Uh-huh.
I'll start asking them to run with me,
Yeah.
just to keep my mind going and
Okay.
the conversation going and all. But yeah, I just kind of cycle through them. And
Mhm.
they definitely, two of them will be in the van, one of them will be with me, and we just cycle maybe every hour or so. And we just keep leapfrogging, you know,
Wow.
every mile's a couple miles ahead.
You have some good friends.
I know, I know,
I
I
can't get
know.
my friends to watch my dog. Like, wow,
Yeah,
that's incredible. That's really that's a good team you have there. I really admire that.
yeah,
Um, have you had injuries along the way? So whether it's in your training process where you're saying like it
yeah,
takes 6 months to train versus in the
right,
actual marathon or ultra marathon itself,
right.
what have
Yeah,
you encountered?
when I first started running, I had a few injuries, but I was training improperly. I was doing too much too fast. I
Uh-huh.
wasn't, ramping up slowly, and I was probably in the wrong shoes at that time as well.
Mhm.
There's a lot of things that probably could have been avoided back then. But as I've become educated and gotten into physical therapy myself, yeah, I've managed to avoid injury now. It's been probably a
Good.
decade that I've been running injury free.
Yeah. Wow.
And but yeah, I've absolutely, it's not the case that during training I'll never have to tend to anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely, part of my training is injury prevention. And yeah, I have to do my stretching. I got to do my strengthening. I
Mm-hmm.
got to get on the foam roller. I got to do
Yeah.
some massage, and sometimes I got to do some ice baths and things like that, inflammation. There's
Yeah.
certain muscles that get tight,
Mm-hmm.
they've got to be stretched. Certain muscles that may be weak, I have to
Mm-hmm.
strengthen them. um, just things like that, that if I don't do them, surely I'll run into trouble halfway through training.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
All
so
right.
yeah, it's balancing, really. It's balancing the muscle, strength.
Uh-huh.
And some muscles, if I only run, for me personally, I'm probably going to get injured. I have to do other things to somewhat offset what
Mm-hmm.
what running does,
Yeah.
such as strengthening other muscles that running doesn't
Okay.
necessarily, target.
Uh-huh.
So, like, just as an example, my hamstrings.
Right.
Running definitely uses, those are the primary force producers, the hamstrings.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm only running, those hamstrings are just going to keep getting tighter and tighter and tighter,
Yeah.
and they tend to just store more and more tension, and they get
Mm-hmm.
shorter and shorter. And the quads, as a result, will just get weaker if I'm
Uh-huh.
not really, strengthening the quads and then stretching the hamstrings, just as an example. So just trying to achieve the balance between certain muscles and things like that, to definitely try and avoid injury. There's a lot of people who probably don't make it to the starting line of a race, and there's some who don't make it to the finish line, because of issues, along the way. So yeah, I've been lucky to, you know avoid a lot of things, but at the same time, I work at them as well. I don't ignore them.
Awesome, awesome. So what are some tips that you learned along the way that helped you? So a lot of it's trial and error, unfortunately, like especially with
Right,
injuries, you get
right.
hurt and then you realize what not to do next time or how better to train. But what are some of the tips that you've learned along the way?
Yeah, to listen to my body. I've
Mm,
had to back off sometimes, for sure. I've had to back off. I've had to begin, perhaps, running a little less mileage and focusing a little more attention on the stretching and the strengthening, and
mhm,
getting rid of some inflammation through some ice baths and things like that.
mm,
Um, and yeah, or just, perhaps it could be something like, managing the same amount of mileage, just backing off on the pace a little bit, or,
oh yeah.
there's many different ways to, decreasing the intensity a little bit,
Mhm,
or the frequency. I mean, maybe running one less day per week, you know would
mhm,
go a long way. It's
yeah.
an extra rest day in there. Maybe the duration of the runs could be decreased, the intensity could be decreased. Like, we don't have to, like, stop running altogether if it's
Mhm.
something that isn't too serious.
Okay. Okay.
uh, yeah.
All right. So before I go into the next question, regarding just the goals that you have moving forward, I wanted to also kind of highlight that I really enjoyed the two goals that you have every time, or maybe
Uh-huh.
just in the videos that I saw, that when you're entering a race, you say, I have two goals for today. My first goal is to finish the race, and
Oh
then the second
yeah.
goal is to have fun. And I think that's
Right.
incredible, like it's not, and it goes back to what you were saying earlier. It's not to be
Yeah.
the first finisher of the race, to
Right.
you, it's just beating your own, PR.
Right.
So,
Exactly. Exactly.
So here we are in Pensacola, Florida. This is the Wildcat 100K, and I'm about 10 and a half, 11 miles here, and just looking to have fun today. I got two goals. The first goal is to finish, and second goal is to have fun. Number one goal, finish. Number two goal, have fun. you know, really hoping to get them both done today.
Yeah, I've kind of picked that up along the way.
Uh-huh.
That is my first goal, is to finish the race.
Yeah.
And I definitely like to have fun out there. So
Yeah. Yeah.
especially with a crew, it can be a lot of
Mm.
fun. And I'll tell you, we have fun up to about mile 70, and then and then it's like strictly business. It's like, all right, let's just get to the finish.
So we're at mile 71 now, and we're still making some progress. Progress is slowed a little bit, but that's to be expected at the end here. Still going strong. About 18 hours in, mile 71 and some change. Running with Catherine now. Yeah, the crew, I got some troopers. Everybody's sticking with it. And we're doing it. We're just gonna focus on continuing to move forward. That's about all.
But yeah, absolutely. My number one goal, and not only for races, but also for
Mhm.
any goals I set, is I just want to finish them.
Yeah.
I like to, whatever goal I start, I like to finish it.
Mhm.
I learn a lot along the way. Hopefully it's something fun.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Good.
Uh,
So what are the goals you have moving forward, Tim?
yeah. In So for 2021, I've already
Mhm.
been thinking of, what are my goals for next year.
Right.
I definitely like to set goals ahead of time, because I already start working the mindset.
Yeah.
So before I even get to 2021,
Yep.
I like to already
Mm.
start mentally preparing for my goals. So,
Mm.
as a runner, I definitely want to revisit the 100 miler again. I've already got a couple races in mind that I want to attempt. I haven't chosen or set in stone or registered, but
Mhm.
I've got a couple in mind for that, and I may want to attempt going a little further than the 116.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
and I have goals for my company that I started this year,
Okay.
and yeah, so I've been writing a book.
Yeah.
I started a book in January,
Okay.
and I've been plugging away at it all year,
Yeah.
and sent it off to the editor.
Uh-huh.
Just actually got it back a few days ago,
Nice.
and I'm excited, and I'm ready to start working on publishing it, getting a
Uh-huh.
book cover design and everything. So that's one of my goals. I want to get that book published for sure.
Mhm. Mhm.
So that'll be in the next few months,
Yeah.
and then I want to start writing my next one. You know,
Okay. Yeah.
um, and yeah, I want to grow the company. I want to,
What
definitely try and
tell
host a race.
tell us more
Yeah,
about your company. Tell us what it is you're doing and what your
yeah.
company's
So
all about.
I started a company. It's called Go the Ultra Mile, and I
Okay.
feel it's real fitting, because my wife and I
Yes.
were just really always trying to achieve, as much as we possibly can, and
Uh-huh.
yeah. So I decided to open a company that pursues my passion of
Mhm.
running, of course,
Yes.
and I want to help other runners. I want to help them find their hidden strength.
Uh-huh.
So I feel I've found over the past decade something that's special for me, and I
Yeah.
feel like I've tapped into something that I really want to help other athletes find on their own.
Uh-huh.
And so I started this company. I'm offering coaching. I'm also writing books. I got
Mhm.
my first book coming out in a few months. I'm going
Mhm.
to be starting on my second one.
Yeah.
My goal for 3 to 5 years, I want to have at least 3, 4 books.
Nice. Uh-huh.
And I just want to talk about my experiences, and
Yeah.
the science behind it. And, I throw in, my experience with physical therapy and how it could help running.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, I want to host the race. I want to be a race director. I want to,
Mhm.
there's nothing I find, greater than seeing other runners pushing themselves.
Yeah.
I'm in the race. I'm in the ultra. It's late in the race, and I
Mhm.
see other runners really struggling, and we're all struggling together.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like a mirror image. I see what I'm going through.
Uh-huh.
And I want to host a race. I want to put on a race where people find that hidden strength, and they
Okay.
I want to give people opportunity to come
Yeah.
out and find their own limits, you know.
Do you envision a race that has multiple distances, or are you looking at like the big ones, the big ultras?
Right. I would like to offer a race with different distances.
Mhm.
I'm thinking the first one I may start out with a trail race, maybe a timed event, 3 hour, 6 hour, 12 hour. Offer
Mhm.
those three options. And the idea would be that people would try and get as far as they can in that time frame, whatever
Uh-huh.
they opt or register for.
Okay.
And yeah, I definitely want to host 100.
Yeah.
I would love nothing more than to choose something pretty cool. I want to think of something unique
Uh-huh.
and offer a 100-mile distance, 50-mile distance, and a 50K. You know,
Okay.
something unique. You know.
Yeah, yeah. So, my ignorance tells me that it's a very small community with
Mhm.
your ultra marathon runners. But seeing you have a team of people supporting you, I'm starting to realize there's more than just the one crazy guy named Tim Wills.
Uh,
There's a lot of people who are into this. So is it really a big community out there?
it is, and it's not
Wow.
really known. There's not, we don't talk about it. In fact,
Yeah.
opening this company this past year, I've
Uh-huh.
probably talked about it more than I have in the past decade.
Yeah.
I haven't even my friends that have known me for a long time didn't even realize I was doing these things for a number of years.
Wow.
It's a small community, and
Uh-huh.
but these races, they're pretty large.
Uh-huh.
They'll get a few hundred people out there.
Wow.
And yeah, it's somewhat of a quiet community. It's not like a 25,000 person
Uh-huh.
marathon like the Miami Marathon.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
a couple hundred people, and but yeah, these races are pretty big, and it does attract a number of people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
crazy. So what are the different types of races you have done? Some of the like because you mentioned the Miami Marathon, so it made me think,
hmm
have you traveled around and done all the different types of marathons in the other areas that are the bigger
I
known
want
races?
to.
Yeah.
That's definitely a goal of mine in the future.
Mhm.
I would love to do New York. I would love to do Boston
Yeah.
someday, which I'd have to qualify for.
Right. Yeah.
I'd love to do Chicago. I'd love to do one in California.
Uh-huh.
I experience a lot through running, and I haven't been out there yet. With school and work and the
Right.
family. I've tended to stay in Florida,
Uh-huh.
but for sure, in the future, I definitely want to get out there and do some
Okay.
ultras in different states and some of the
Yeah.
big marathons.
Yeah. Have you
Yeah.
done any of the Disney ones?
No, and I
No?
want to. My
Oh,
cousins are big on those, and
yeah, I've been wanting to do that.
yeah,
I thought when we moved down here to Miami, I thought, "Oh, great, now I can do those
yeah,
Disney, runs." And I've yet to sign up because I miss it every single time. I guess I'm not privy or I'm not I have no idea when those sign up times are and those 5Ks
yeah,
because that's what I can manage
uh-huh,
right now. They sell out pretty fast, and then the 10K sell out
yeah,
pretty fast too. And then of
yeah,
course, COVID happened, but I wasn't ready for it anyway, so it's not like I could put a rain on my parade or anything, but for sure, I've wanted to do it. I just haven't gotten there.
yeah, yeah. No, there's
So,
so much out there. Yeah.
so you've mentioned training runners. Are you looking at also training people who are interested, or are you really looking for those who are like committed already to their running?
Yeah. So I offer month to month because I realize, there's a lot can happen. People's lives can get busy. People
Mm,
can lose interest. I definitely, I'm there for them, So if somebody comes to me and says, "Hey, I just want to, you know, see what it's about," I'm there for them,
uh-huh,
I'm going to guide them, support them as long as they want.
yeah,
um, and I'll encourage them as long as I'm there for them.
yeah,
I'm definitely, and on Instagram and through email, I tell everybody, please ask me all the questions you want.
yeah.
And people ask questions, and I'll answer questions all day. It doesn't
Hmm.
even have to be about coaching. I don't mind mentoring or just answering questions throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout your
Yeah,
training.
yeah.
I'm there for people,
Okay.
Oh,
And what
So
about training programs? Do you have like some training programs that you've created for your company, or at least resources that you can point them to that are great resources?
yeah, I definitely develop training plans
Mhm.
that are customary.
Mm.
So what I
Mhm.
offer is like a 1 hour conversation with somebody,
Uh-huh.
and definitely get their full schedule, all of their commitments, all of their obligations, and we work around that.
Oh.
Through training, I'll develop a training plan that can definitely be worked around a very busy schedule. I do it
Mhm.
with myself,
Yeah.
it would involve sometimes waking up pretty early,
Yeah.
but um, but yeah, I do custom training plans.
Mhm.
There's a lot of templates out there,
Yeah.
on the internet. So one thing that could be good about having somebody guide them through is the adjustments.
Right.
Sometimes people get behind on their training,
Mhm.
and they're not sure what to do. Sometimes they try and make all of that up in a small time frame, and sometimes it takes guidance to
Mhm.
get through that and get caught up, and maybe not lose too much fitness
Yeah.
without and not having to take the risk
Mhm.
of trying to make everything up.
Yeah, yeah. And
um,
so for the different distances in the different types of runs, what is the minimum amount of training time somebody should consider before entering a race?
that's a great question. So let's say a marathon. you know
Mhm.
I would probably take them up to long runs anywhere between probably 18 and to 22 miles, depending on their experience level or
Mhm.
needs or wants. For a half marathon, probably take them up to 10, 11 miles. There's no need to run a half marathon before running a half marathon.
Yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
and sometimes I've always thought, even when I did my first half marathon, I think I ran up to 10 or 11 miles. And I thought, gosh, I don't know how I'm going to do those 2 miles.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's there. So, so yeah. And for a 50K, a marathon training plan would almost work for a 50K.
Uh-huh.
50 miler, probably take them up to the marathon as
Mhm.
their longest run, maybe a 50K, depending on their experience level.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's all about what their goals are. It's all about how much time they have and
Mhm.
how committed they are. And there's definitely a minimum and a maximum,
Right.
and yeah, depending on the goals, we go from there.
Okay. Okay. What are some sources, resources that people can look into now? So if they say, you know what, Tim, I would love to um use you as my coach, but
Hmm.
give me some resources to start. Like I'm interested, I'm curious, but I'm not quite a runner, or I don't know if this is right for me. Like what are some resources that you would redirect them to just to start?
Yeah, I think YouTube, for one, I think YouTube is great. There's just so many knowledgeable people out there, knowledgeable
Mhm.
runners, elite runners, even, that I mean, they just have so much advice out there. There's so many running books out there
Mhm.
that definitely, depending on the subject content they're looking for, they could just
Yeah.
type it in YouTube, and or even Google which books carry
Right.
that content.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I love about the internet is, I
Mhm.
mean, we can teach ourselves to do anything really.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, the difference in, yeah, having a coach, you'd have that guidance to take you through and change and adapt and reconstruct things. But yeah, resources, definitely YouTube, and there's a ton of running books out there. I taught myself how to run with dozens of running books out there. There's a lot of information.
Yeah, yeah, that's great, and that's important to highlight too. Is I think maybe that's where my failure was just trying to get out there and
Mhm.
run without any knowledge or
Right,
education behind it. And I think
right.
you bring a great point is that you had to teach yourself how to run, and you read books about running, which
Yeah,
to the normal person you just think you just get out there and do it, right? But
yeah.
that's probably where I'm setting myself up for failure.
Yeah, and I'm still reading about running. I mean, there's new research coming out that kind of negates things that are in running books that are 5, 10 years old. And
Mm,
I mean, they just keep coming out with new and new, more and more research.
hmm.
And I'm still learning so much too.
Yeah.
You know, with science, it can just go on and on and on.
Right.
As soon as we get into a new area, it just expands into 10 new
Uh-huh.
areas we had no idea about.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Okay. So Tim, if you had a billboard, what would it say?
Go the ultra mile.
There you go. Nice plug.
um,
I love it. Okay, if you couldn't
yeah,
say that,
yeah, yeah.
if that was your tagline on the bottom or your signature on the bottom, what would it actually like
I would.
what else would it say?
So for me, it's running, and I chase my dreams through running, and it's going somewhere, and I'm
Uh-huh.
not gonna deny it. I'm gonna keep going in that direction. But I believe everybody has a passion of some
Uh-huh.
sort, and
Yeah.
maybe they haven't found it yet. Maybe they have. Um, Maybe there's different passions throughout a lifetime.
Mhm.
I was very passionate about basketball before I found running.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, I would just suggest everybody entertains their passion, as far and as deep as they possibly can. So I guess with a billboard, chase your dreams.
Okay. I
Yeah,
like it. See?
yeah,
Still along the lines. I love it.
yeah.
I love it. And sometimes we don't know what we don't know. Is there something I should have asked you or that you've thought of topic-wise that we can still discuss?
No, we covered a lot.
Yeah.
We covered a lot, and
Yeah.
yeah, I appreciate you inviting me on the show. And
Of course. Yeah, no, thank you
uh,
so much. So, Tim, where can people find you? What are your social media handles, your
yeah,
website?
I'm on Instagram. Go the ultra mile.
Mhm.
Anybody can feel free to email me anytime with any questions. Go the ultra mile at gmail.com.
Mhm.
And my website is gotheultramile.com.
Perfect.
You can find everything I have to offer there. And by all means, anybody who just wants to email me and introduce themselves and ask
Mhm.
me 30 questions, I'm here for
Yeah,
you.
awesome. Great. And all of
Yeah,
that information will also be on our website as well. You'll
cool.
find under special guest, you'll see Tim's picture, and then all that information will be there that you can just click and get right to him. All right. So, well, thank you so much, Tim. That was very enlightening. I think I know what I've been doing wrong with running. So back to the drawing board. I might be sending you some questions and
You
just
as
really
well. Anytime. Yeah.
So I really appreciate it. But thank you so much for your time and for your
Thank
knowledge and
you.
all things running. And I'm looking forward to that book when it drops and releases. So please let us know
Thank you.
so that
I
I can
will.
also put a plug out there for you as well because I'm really excited to see what all is
Yeah.
in your mind on
I
paper. So
appreciate it. I
great.
appreciate it, Jasmine. Thank you
Thank you.
so much. Nice meeting you as well.
Yeah, Connor. Mwah.